Hello and welcome to yet another episode of Athletics for Life podcast. We're your hosts, CD and Jeff, a couple of athletic directors in Mongolia. And we started this podcast to selfishly kind of pick other athletic directors' brains for their best tips and tricks and how we can bring them to our programs here in our small corner of the world. And then hopefully in doing so, we can share those with you. So this year, we've been traveling around Asia, interviewing a variety of athletic directors in a ton of different countries. And today's podcast is no exception. So Jeff, why don't you go ahead and introduce today's guest?
Yeah, it's a bit of a special podcast today, but it's a great one. We're having Manos Volikakis on our podcast today. Manos is the early years athletics coordinator, PYPPE teacher, and the founder of the Dolphins Ice Hockey Program at Chadwick International School in Sangdo, Korea. Manos has been in Korea for a long time, at Chadwick for 10 to 12 years, and he's done some amazing things at Chadwick International School. I had the privilege to meet Manos there at Chadwick to see the school. It's super impressive. And Manos reached out to us because he is proud of his programs, and we love that. And people who want to share, we invite him on the podcast. So it's going to be a very cool podcast today where Manos is going to talk about his programs, how he developed it, and the impact it had on not only Chadwick, but at Sangdo and Korea.
Definitely. We hope you enjoy our chat with Manos. All right. So why don't we just kick it off? We're here with Manos. I'm not even going to try to pronounce your last name yet. So why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're at, how you got there, and what you do.
Well, a bit about myself. Well, let's go with my last name, Volikakis. I am French Canadian, although a Greek dad, so a Greek background into all of this. And here I am speaking English to you guys. I grew up in Quebec, Canada. Very, very athletic community. A lot of sports going on year round. Obviously, we're in Canada, so winters are heavy. As I said, my dad is Greek, so soccer was his sport. But we're in Canada. My mom is on the French side of Canada, where a lot of hockey players are there as well. So soccer, hockey was my big thing growing up. And as I said, like, we had all the options that we could as kids. So as I grew up, I just tried anything I could. The last thing I wanted to do was in a school building. I mean, in a gym, okay, but in the classroom, not so much. So yeah, I played as much sports as I could. And then that led into high school, playing handball, football, rugby, everything was going on. And little did I know that my biggest passion was hockey, but like football led into something else where I ended up playing college football in Canada, in Nova Scotia. St. Francis Xavier, very, very good school for the education diploma, which is where I got my diploma. And if we backtrack on this, as I said, sports was my thing. So anytime I could stretch my time playing sports, I did. If you guys, just to put in perspective, the French system in Canada, you finish high school in grade 11. And then you have to go to compare to the US, it's a junior college. So you have to do 2 years there before you move on to university. So what I did is I ended up doing a grade 11 and a half. Football was the fall season. So, and I was young of my age. So I was able to come back for one more year in high school. So I stretched my sports time with football and then moved on to this junior college, as I said. And then I did 2 years and a half there again, like always, like accomplishing, or like, you know, like if you don't do well in school, you cannot play. So I had to do well. So I was able to just stretch that time there. And then I believe when I first went to university, I was turning 20 years old. So once I got there, well, I did my 5 years. I did 2 degrees there, again, to stretch my sporting career. So I did my undergrad in 4 years, and then I did our BEd in 2 years, which was now 6 years. Sadly enough, I had several concussions in a row, and my time playing was done. But I just, you grind so hard that you just know when it's time to hang it, and which is what I did. So I became like a student coach for my last year at Saint FX, and then from there I moved on with my teaching degree. So I moved back to Quebec for 2 years, and then so like I coached the junior college that I played at, and throughout all of that time, like to link back to why we're here right now, talking about our athletic background or athletic director role. Ever since I was 12 years old, I was coaching, I was refereeing. So, that was always in me. I knew what I wanted to do. So yeah, I went back to Quebec, did my 2 year, I did 2 years. My first 2 years teaching, I was there. Something I never wanted to do. I graduated from BED with secondary aim. I ended up teaching kindergarten my first year. But it was an amazing school where like sports was the forefront of everything. So I was like, yeah, I could do that. But what was keeping me grounded was that right after school, like I would go straight to the junior college and coach those 16, 17, 18 years old kids. So, that was my balance between like dealing with the babies. And so, yeah, I did that for 2 years. And then another mistake happened in my life. Not a mistake, but like a forced option. I ended up coming to Korea, not wanting to come here. This is where I'm currently at now. So I had a 1 year leave of absence from the school I was at in Quebec. I was like, yeah, I'll be back the following year. I come here, figure things out. I don't know anything about the international school system. We were late applying to international schools. So I thought for 1 year in this English academy where like here in Korea, the Korean system goes from 8 o'clock to 1 o'clock. And then from 1 to 4, kids go to private academies or like outside teachers come to those schools and then teach whatever they want to teach. So English is big here. So yeah, for 1 year I was teaching from 1 to 5. But I was like, sports was always a thing. So yes, like I said, I played football like my entire college career. But hockey was always in me. So like we had our own football team that was like the hockey team. We were pretty good. And, like my best friends were the hockey players as much as the football players in uni. So I come back to Korea. My first 2 years back in Quebec, I'm back into heavy hockey as well. So moved to Korea. A friend of mine, my old roommate was already here in Korea. He's like, do not bring your golf clubs, just bring your hockey gear. Okay, fine. Come here, do my thing with like I said, like I was teaching like a 1 to 5 gig, so it was pretty easy. So I could do whatever I want at night and sleep in the morning at first. So like I was skating like 3 days a week. Anybody that needed me, I was there for them. And then yeah, so that led into someone was leaving, having someone that coach in English was a big thing here in Korea back in the days, still now, but mostly then. So 13 years ago is when I first came here. I ended up being like the first like official hockey coach in Korea. And then, yeah, I was working for this Korean club. And then, yeah, so like in the meantime, that year ended where, like I told you, I was doing like English second language. Good thing I was a second language teaching English. But so yeah, anyways, and again, as you guys know, like sports is such a tight-knitted community where it's always about connections. So people heard about what I was doing. Well, first of all, getting that coaching job was connections. They saw me on the ice. They saw that I was involved with kids already. And then from there, someone was leaving. So like my first year as I said, I'm supposed to go back to Canada, but I see all these opportunities. I'm like, oh, wow, international school jobs, I could pay as well. In Canada, you get the taxes, so you don't have any money at the end of the month. So I'm like, maybe we can stretch that a little bit. So we start looking at those international jobs. I don't know about search. I don't know about anything. So we just Google up, and like, again, like this is in 2000, I don't know, 10. So Google all international schools in Korea, write them down, write their address down. I have this ghetto resume. And, and I mean, like, there's good things on it, but it doesn't look the greatest, but still send it. I had a few options. Like, one was to just teach in the classroom, well paid, but then I had this option where I could have been the AD for this school. It was a 10,000 difference at the end of the year. And I was like, you know what? I follow my passion. So I stuck with it. And then I ended up working at this small international school, with like very, like, it's old, but very, very multicultural, like community. All the embassies from Seoul, like the school was in Seoul. So a lot of the embassies were sending their kids there. So anyways, the facilities were not the greatest. I was teaching PE on the rooftop of our school. They turned an apartment complex into a school. So yeah, those, and I would have to walk my kids to the park behind the school to run PE lessons and so on. Teaching basketball on those like hard dirt ground is where we would teach basketball and so on. But they cared about their sports. Like we would have to rent everything we had. When I was only there for 2 years, but that was, my stepping stone, like just start. First experience. I don't have any, like, I mean, obviously, like, my personal experience added to all of this. That was all, I had that in mind when I was in uni to become an AD, but never like this is going to happen. So that's why when that opportunity came, I jumped on it. So again, not much facilities. The kids are blah, but if if you show that you're willing to give them something and you're passionate, kids will follow. So we picked it up. It was basically, we were like, myself, I ended up coaching everything. I'm not the greatest basketball person, but like at all, but you have to coach it. Volleyball, I had a small background from playing like pickup volleyball in the past. I was like, okay, that I can do okay. Soccer, I was good. Like, I knew I was confident with that one. So those were the main 3 sports here. So I ran those. And then, like we made the school presentable and actually good. Like our little puny school with like 35, actually 70 kids graduating every senior year. We were able to pull off like a varsity boys and girls for all of those sports. So yeah, like our programs were able to go to, if you guys know APAC, we were sending them to those DODS tournaments, and we were presentable. Like, again, you're just proud to be there because that means you did good. And if we're able to beat bigger schools, we're just even more excited about it. I'm not saying that we were always good at all the sports, but at least we had something going. And then, yeah, so I did that too. So that was my second year. And again, like, when I also had like I was a 50% AD, 50% PE, like you have to do in smaller schools. And I was like, well, teaching PE and nothing. Like I had 2 Costco bags that would do my entire year of PE. So you become creative. You're really, you do whatever you can to make it good. So that happened. And then we moved on to, my second year, I was like, you know what? I know I'm worth better. Like nothing against the school. I'm very thankful for everything they did. Like I will always be. It all, like, it made me such a greater person and more appreciative of where I'm at now. And, I'm still connected to that school. So nothing, all positive. But again, I wanted to grow. I wanted to do something better. And luckily, the school that I'm at now, Chadwick, the school is 12 years old. This is my 10th year here. The first 2 years, they were like up to grade 6 and then 7, and then build it on from there. So my goal, actually, like I wanted to go back to group. So my transition from this small school called Kent in Seoul to Chadwick, that's like near the airport here in Incheon, was a mistake again. Not a mistake, but like a guided mistake again. I went from I wanted to go to Greece to just, reconnect with my roots and so on, because I found that, like, as you guys know, the international school world is pretty cool. And then this school, Chadwick, approached me. Actually, it's a Greek friend from Canada that reached out to me. He was becoming the AD here. He's like, hey, I know you have experience. Like the league in Korea is called the Kayak. So it's like, hey, I know you have experience and we need some support. We didn't know each other in university, but we actually played football against each other. So, and our coaches actually, we had the same coaches, but he had my coaches first and so on. So those connections are all there. And we're like, hey, what if we do, like our schools ended up with like 3 head coaches in the same team. Like back when I was in uni, like, why? He goes to me like, why don't we do something like that? We're like, like we like all like strong athletic minded get together and build something strong. I was like, yeah, I'm in. So I come to Chadwick, and at first I was just here to teach middle school, but we knew that we were here to build all the sports program. Like the school was amazing. Like Jeff, you've been here. Our facilities are like amazing. Like we have 3 gyms, 2 that are like legit, like basketball courts, everything is there. We have an amazing swimming pool, FIFA-sized soccer field, the track that goes with it. We got 5 tennis courts. Everything is there. So, going back from my rooftop with my 2 Costco bag to actually in their first year, they made a mistake. So everything they ordered it twice. So we had gear, like it was like a never ending, like a PE equipment room. So dreamland. So again, if you have the right people at the right time, magic can happen. So we were here, we build like it was like heavy volleyball, heavy soccer, heavy basketball, and we just went on. But he was the AD, and then my first year, that's when the middle school AD position opened up, and I was like, and it was a friend of mine, well, a colleague then, she got the job. We both applied, but I was not, like, she had more experience than me, so she got the job. And then in the meantime, my friend got promoted to my friend that was the AD did our first 2 years. He got promoted as the village school or elementary school vice principal. And he's like, hey, in the meantime, as the AD, the original idea that he had was that to create a coordinator for each division. So an elementary school coordinator, a middle school coordinator, and himself like overseeing everything. So when he left his athletic director role to move on to village school, that's when this schematic came to place. And, with my background, as I said, teaching kinder and like teaching from, I've always been involved with like young kids, big kids, didn't matter. I was like, and that's, I don't know in you guys' experience, but from what I see, a lot of people get afraid to teach or coach little kids. And I was like, you know what? Like, if I don't do it, nobody's going to do it. So I was like, let's just get dirty and get this done. So jumped on it, build it. And again, like the reason why, we are here to talk about what's happening in our school is I believe we're like a very, very successful school when it comes to athletics, is because we built it the right way. From the ground up is the way I would see it. So like, so yeah, we went, so they just said like, do whatever you want, like it's free. Like, so there was nothing created before I jumped into that role. And again, from playing like college level, high school level, and seeing like, and again, like my years as a student in high school or elementary school, like was amazing. And like, we had like stellar, like schools where like sports was big where I'm from. So I was like just using all those ideas, and we created what we created here. And the school was like, yeah, go for it. Anything, just go. So to go back to this, like when we say like build it right from the beginning, we had every set. So we had our seasons. Like I'm assuming it's the same with the schools where you guys are at. Like high schools got priority because they're the big seasons, or like, you know, those kids may end up in college through sports. So it was like, yeah, like just opposite of whatever goes on in high school, but middle school becomes second priority. We become third. So it was like, yeah, just give me whatever you want, whatever we got, we're going to do something with it. So, so yeah. And again, because of our facilities, it was not so much of a problem. So yeah, again, schools around were not so, like here in Korea, it was very old school mentality where it was like just top down. And all those big schools were like, hey, we've been here for 40 years. That's the way it's done. Sorry, but like, we don't care about you. But again, because I was in those kayak meetings, like I knew who those ADs were and so on. I don't know how respected I was because I was coming from a small school, but you know, I'm a humble person, and I feel like I made some pretty good relationship with those ADs then. So, you know, like they didn't have much choice, but for like saying like, okay, what do you want? Okay, we'll give you a little piece. We'll give you a little piece. So slowly, what we created here at Chadwick, like other major schools started to join in, and then it led to what it was pre-COVID. But to go back to how it all worked out, we would just host anything. If you think that there's 50, how many school weeks in a year? 48, something like that. Well, 20 to 28 Saturdays a year, we were on campus running something for elementary school kids. So it was just like, hey, open your mouth. We'll just shove it all in. And yeah, it was like, we didn't care if the other schools didn't come. We knew that somebody would come because it's like, hey, it's free, just join. And so our kids just had opportunities to play against other kids. So it was like the fall, well, it is still, the fall season was heavy soccer, and Korean soccer is a major sport. So, you know, we can run this 12 months of the year and like it would never stop. But, you know, our goal as athletic director or coordinator is to, you know, give the wide variety. So multi-sport is a big thing for me. So, you know, you have to sort of slow it down when it comes to soccer. So yeah, soccer was like the big thing in the fall, cross country. And then when the fall would lead in, because it's warm here in Korea until October, you know, bringing the couple American things the couple American sports. So like American football, we would have like a little like skill sessions and a small tournament, very, very friendly, like nothing intense. And then, yeah, we would then like a volleyball, like again, elementary school, like volleyball is a skill that's hard to pick up. So we would just give some, like a lot of clinics is what we were doing. And again, to go back to those small schools that don't have the facilities, that give them a chance to get a free PE/athletics taste to their own kids. So in the meantime, we were helping them out. So yeah, that would be our fall seasons. And then it would lead into, again, I'm Canadian, so floor hockey was big, and a few Canadians were around in Korea. So we would run a couple floor hockey tournaments. And then basketball, what else? Badminton. We had some rock wall sessions. Track and field was always big. And I say was because COVID sort of paused everything. I shouldn't talk that way, but that's the reality. So yeah, but to add to this, like I'm saying, like all of these things were happening, like the blend of like us, like the way PE was set for elementary school, and it still is that kids had, well, a couple of things changed in a good way, was that back then what we had was a all the kids in the elementary school had 2 PE lessons, like were like a specific, like 45-minute PE lessons. Like, and we're a PYP school, so we would follow our units. So we had those 2 lessons, and then we had a 3rd lesson where it was like the whole grade level shows up. We have the facilities, so that like, for example, if you were teaching the grade 3, well, the 5 grade 3 classes would show up in the gym, and we would divide the gym into 4, like put the divider down. So we had four courts, but the whole elementary school PE team would be on deck. And that's where our sports focus that we run throughout the year were happening. So again, we do our PYPPE lessons for 2 of the 3 lessons. We focus on our sports in those PE lessons where it's all PE together. It wasn't just sports, like, we would play like your classic dodgeballs and so on. And like sometimes we'll make some house games throughout all of that. And then what was added to all of this, and that's where like, several schools in Korea has reached out to be like, why do you guys like just turn the switch so quick? Well, what we did is school ends at 3:30 here, but to go back to, you guys are AD in like high schools. You guys take over from 3:30 to 5. So same thing here. So what we did is the kids it's called exploratories, and that's where they pick, like if you want to take a knitting session, or if you want to make a teddy bear making sessions, like you go to this. But added to this, exploratories is where our sports practice happened. So going by season, exploratories where like the athletic focus was happening for elementary school. So again, from 2:30 to 3:30, our practice are happening, and then you guys have you guys take over. So the kids they had the choice of 2 exploratories a week, and they could only come to obviously one soccer. Like, for example, if we use soccer, it was like come to one soccer, the other one, it could have been wall climbing, anything that teachers were willing to offer. But me and my role, what I would do is focus on, still is now, but like this is the fall season. Those are the main focus sports. Winter season, those are the main focus sports. Who can coach those in those exploratories? And then the cumulative of those exploratories was to, hey, if you come to those exploratories, you can come on Saturdays. Like we open it to more than that, but then those Saturdays turn into legit tournaments. And those ADs those high school ADs in Korea were like, well, the elementary school, they were saying like, yeah, the elementary school league, it's not a league, but they were like, those become more intense than the middle school where it's all friendly. I mean, but in the meantime, like, if you think about it, like when I say like to start it from the ground up, like if you look at it, the kids are facing adversity right away from when they're young. Like that competition factor where you win, where you lose, where you accept to lose, all the sportsmanship and so on. Like, like that's where for me, like meeting all of those kids like 3, 4, 5 times a week, and ingraining in those kids the core values of our schools, the sportsmanship and everything that comes up with a team. When those kids move on to middle school and this keeps adding up, like as I said, like our school is now 12 years old, and like all of our sports right now are like the depth is there. So, and again, in a flick, like, we started to win, like it's the result of all of us, like from the admin saying, yes, you can do whatever you want. We trust that you know what you're doing first, but then the whole team to be like, yeah, we're all part of this. We can see like every week, every month, you see like the growth of those kids. And now, like it's happening. So I had a couple notes here to share with you guys. I feel like I covered quite a bit. I've done that for, like this is my 10th year, but I was the elementary school sports coordinator, or am, for 8 years now. After this year, I'm moving on. So, but the school is in good hands, and my friend will take over my spot. So for the last couple of months. We're sitting together, like passing on everything. And he, we've built this together. So again, like I am not this one person that did all this for elementary. It's like my entire team that believed the same belief I had that made this happen. So yeah, everyone take the credits on that one.
No, Manos, it's awesome. This is going to be our easiest podcast because you share everything, which is amazing. Thank you so much for that. Chadwick is a really impressive school. I've been there. We met each other. It's been a while, but it's very impressive. I was just the stories with all the PE stuff. I was like, holy crap, it's so much. What would you say is the most important thing that you see over all these years of growing a program like that? Maybe you're starting at a new school and you want to build something like this. You talk a lot about from the early years, but also the culture. I can really feel a good culture over there of support. What is the most essential thing that you would give someone to start something like that at a new school?
Well, you need a team. You cannot be this dictator that says, I know everything and just follow me. People have to buy in first. Really, like that sense of community, like, like what I don't share here is that even the parents were heavy into this. Like if you would have come here on a Saturday pre-COVID, there's like our entire field has 400 kids on the field, but there's also 400 kids around, 400 parents around the field from all the other schools. So you have to create your own. So again, it's like that community. Once you make everyone jump in and buy in, it's so easy afterward. All you got to do is just, guide people the right way. And like, hey, you want to do like, of course, like, and again, to go back to when I first came here, it was like, hey, yes, you can do everything you want. Like, we trust you. Like, yes. Oh, you want to do this? Let me check. Okay. Yeah. So, the fact that I was getting the yes, if a parent wants to come to me on, no was not an answer that I had to, it was like I won't say no, but I'm going to say like, do this, So at the end of the day, everyone is on the same boat and we're all moving forward. So yeah, to go back, just get people to buy in. And then afterward, the other thing is like, of course you got people that sometimes coach either for their resumes or coach for the money. But it's also some like, their time is valued. Like you only have a Saturday and Sunday. And when it's heavy weeks from Monday to Friday and you're teaching, like whatever you take, if you're a grade 1 teacher, you're burnt by Friday. That person needs a little bit of a credit, like a candy on Saturday if that person is going to come. So yeah, adding to this, like a budget that's there to support really, really helped. But again, like in my mind, I don't know, I try to read people and like, if I see that they're here for the money, I'll talk to you once and then I'm going to move away. That's also part of our game, I believe, to read and like see through all of that. So yeah, I hope I answered this question.
No, Manos, this has been awesome. Like Jeff said, this is probably one of the easier ones. Just letting us sit back and you tell your story has been great. You hit on so many things that are unique to the international AD world or just the international school world. Like your school that ordered a bunch of stuff and happened to order double, right? Like that sort of stuff happens all the time. Maybe not that exact thing, but like just those sort of like happy accidents where, oops, now we have more than enough stuff. Or, for example, here last week we had volleyball practice, but the staff had booked the gym at the same time. So it turned into a staff versus student volleyball game, which was just a happy accident. But, that doesn't happen at, public schools back home. It's those sort of things that makes the international school fun and interesting. I'm curious, what would you say, like, sitting here listening to you, it just reminds me like, yeah, I have to do more for the elementary school, right? Like I have to do more for those primary kids.
Yeah.
Like you mentioned, both Jeff and I are the high school ADs. We do, coach a handful of the high school teams. And we know that primary is important, but often, like you said, it's the second or third priority. what tips would you have for me or for Jeff and I to get that started, to kind of get an elementary program going in a place where it hasn't been a culture, isn't on everyone else's radar?
I mean, there's so many good things you guys can do. And like the way I see it, and again, like I really try to summarize what we do here. But again, if you say how to start, it could be just at first, like, like a PE teacher that coaches elementary, that is in elementary. And, with your administrative, like, the background that you have, support, guide, but added to this, you have all of your coaches, I'm assuming, that can jump in on that. And then to add even more, here in our school, like CAS hours, where like students need to run a club, like, to get some volunteer hours. Well, like to really like connect this, to go back to the community, like as I was saying before with the parents. Well, if you close the whole circle here, if your coaches guide if your high school coaches guide your high school players, hey, that's your clinic, run stations. And then your high school players are now like, coaching your little elementary school kids. And no joke, this was so indented into our kids that, like the kids that were in grade 1 ending up in grade 6, but seeing that pattern happening. The kids were in grade 6 pre-COVID. The kids in grade 6 were able to come and help us out with running sessions on Saturdays. So, like, and again, it goes back to everyone respects everyone in this school. Like a grade 12 knows the grade 3 because of those little things like that. So there's so more, that really help. And one thing that I didn't share in this that our school is very big into is the global trips. We have global trips in elementary, we have global trips in middle school, we have global trips in high school, all with sports. So, when you see those candies, kids will want to come to your now practices. Like when I said, like if like, I don't know, like gaming is an exploratory, or you have soccer and the kid is an addict to computers, but he knows that he could end up in Singapore through a soccer event, he's going to show up to your soccer practice over a gaming thing. So at the end of the day, like, it's just like all those incentives that you build along the way that supports all of that. But I would also say, like, just try to find budget where your school can give a little bit and then build from there. Like, like the question you asked me here, a couple of schools have asked me those same questions, like, why did that happen? But if you have a little bit of budget to give, from there, you're going to be able to move forward, I would say.
Yeah, it's perfect because like we have kind of the same thing as your exploratories. It's after school activities. Even for primary, it's during the school day, but it's that last hour on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays.
Same with
And I think like our sixth form, our oldest kids are free during that time. So like you're just connecting all the dots for me. And it's like, yeah, I can do that next year. That's magic.
It's magical. You'll see.
Yeah, like I can have kids in the hall, or if it's nice out, we get pretty cold here in the winter. So in the spring or in the late fall, or early fall, we could be outside doing football on the pitch. Yeah, no, this has been really good. Like, it's
just to add to what you just said there, going back to, I don't know how much budget you guys have. And again, without cheaping your kids, but here we go. Like, so, like you didn't say anything, but if again, your high schoolers are the one coming in your Saturdays, like a t-shirt, something like a lunch, and like I said, to support with a, hey, like that follows into a reference letter at the end when you're in grade 12. Like, those are all like big things that, we've all done that when we were kids, where like you had to show up and like go for free and like do whatever you had to do, like washing, like go to do a car wash to raise money for whatever. Like, I'd rather coach on a Saturday little kids than do a car wash. So little things like that can help.
Yeah, thanks for that. Yeah, there's many different ways of showing your appreciation and value for people's work, right? And sometimes a shirt is enough. We talked with other ADs who do the same thing. The kids get a shirt, they get a reference letter, and they're happy with that. It's not always about money or time. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. Is there anything else you want to share about yours, Chadwick? You shared a lot already, which is awesome. You can also just share a little bit about what you're up to next year, Manos. I would love to hear that. If you're okay with sharing that, yes or no, I'm not sure.
No worries. Yeah, well, like 13 years here, and when I've done like the heavy work that I did, I was obviously not a dad. Let's be clear. I was plain single, going crazy, burning it by two hands. Whereas, I would do my things at night and then get up at 5 a.m., 6 a.m. and get on the field and sweat all that dirty stuff out. But I was this is 13 years here. I'm 7 days a week out there. Like I was. COVID saved us. I had a kid pre-COVID, the year before COVID, and then luckily during COVID we had 2 more boys. So COVID was a lifesaver for my marriage. Doing all of this and like slowly aiming towards like I have to focus on my family more. Like obviously I want to jump back into this because I love it and I know I can do more and give back way more. So we're moving to Saudi Arabia. We're going to Koops school. My wife will be an elementary school counselor, and I will be teaching PE and doing some swimming as well, which is not my forte, but for the last, I've had to teach it my whole time here. So I learned well through the coaches that we had here. And so now I'm pretty happy to, again, Andy Vasili's there, which is a famous name in the PE world. So I'm pretty excited to go side by side with him and learn from him. And I heard that the rest of the team is also really, really good. So I'm pumped. So that's my next step.
No, best of luck to you. That's awesome. We're just nearing the end of the podcast. It's amazing that somehow you've answered all my questions without me having to ask them. So we just want to say like thanks for your time. We appreciate it, and I'm definitely going to be stealing some of your stuff for next year for our elementary program. And
you guys can always
Jeff and I have talked.
Email me, whatever, and
for sure.
I'm there to grow the game and to grow what we do here. So it's not about myself.
Yeah, and like you said, a lot of people are scared with coaching those young kids, and it just takes jumping in and realizing like how much energy they'll give you towards whatever it is you're teaching them, and it can be so much fun.
I'm 55 years old.
Thanks, definitely.
Well, it keeps you young.
Yeah.
I'm not.
Yeah, Manos. Yeah, thank you so much, mate. It was good to be in contact. And not only that, you reached out to us because we reach out to all these people all over the world to get it on our podcast, and they're always they say yes to us, which is awesome. But you reached out to us, which is amazing. And if you're proud of your program and you want to share that, I think that's very valuable. If you're proud of your program, you put something together there, which is highly respected in the international world. So you should be proud of that. And thank you for sharing that. And it's great to catch up, and hope people can take some pointers away from you for sure.
All right. And here, can I shoot a couple of things?
Sure.
Go back to Chadwick. We run an international soccer event. It's every fall. It's called the Songdo 7. So we have schools from all over Asia that comes. It's similar to Singapore Sevens. So middle school, elementary schools, to go back to, it's not to grow your game. Just it's usually in November here in Korea. So find some contacts on our Chadwick websites, and come visit us.
Can you repeat the name of that one more time?
Songdo Sevens is the tournament.
Okay.
It's the 7-a-side tournament. And so go on chadwickschool.org. There's a Chadwick school in California, not that one, but the Chadwick in Korea. All like any email addresses are all on the website. Our head AD David Snipes is on this. Reach out to him and then go ahead.
All right, we got to start practicing, Jeff.
Yes, we got to start practicing. Yes, and I'm sure we will cross paths in the future, Manos. It's a small world in the end, international world.
Well, thumbs up on your podcast. It's good for us, and obviously we're here to learn from everyone else. So thank you for doing that.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your time.
All right. Have a great day,
Thanks
guys.
a ton. It was great.
Thank you.
All right. We just wrapped up our chat with Manos in South Korea. Great talk. I think that might be the fewest questions ever asked on an Athletics for Life podcast, which is wonderful. Makes our job so easy when someone's very passionate about what they do. And we can just sit back and listen and learn. For me, I was definitely in the camp where, I know the elementary school program is important, but it's scary because I don't interact with them. I teach the high school kids. I coach the high school and middle school teams, and I have very little interaction with the elementary students. And it's kind of scary. It is kind of scary to start something new. And through talking with Manos, it became very apparent of how easy I could make some of those changes and have an elementary school program without this, this great big thing that I need to start. Just a couple small changes to our existing ECA program. Spoiler alert, we're actually recording the outro a day later. So in that time between our talk with Manos and right now, I actually talked to a member of admin in the primary about potentially restructuring our PE classes, similar to what Manos does, where he has, 1 year group is in the gym at one time and they can play games. And, he thought that was a great idea. Whether we do it next year or not, we'll see. But that's the whole point of our podcast, is to have these conversations, find the things that are going to work for me or for you, Jeff, or for our listeners, and then see if it's going to work. So just an amazing podcast. And, hopefully you guys got something from it as well.
Yeah, definitely. It's so easy for us just to sit back, mute ourselves and just listen to someone sharing. And that's just amazing. I think we all want that, just to share, what we're doing, because we're all doing amazing stuff. Different than other schools, different than other people. We're all different schools, different context, right? Like you said, how easy it was to do something. And we forget it sometimes. The high school teams are sometimes the priority, right? But Manos was saying that let those kids coach the younger kids during the time that they're off. Sometimes that's something that I've been trying, but maybe I need a little bit more structure for that. So yeah, some great tips Manos shared today. He's been there a long time, and I found it interesting sometimes when people are a long time, they see a few generations, they have kids in KG all the way to 12, right? If you've been there a long time, and it takes time to build a program. So don't rush into a school and try to fix everything or change everything. Take your time with it. A lot of the ADs, they're saying, hey, first year, sit back and see what's going on over there. What could you change? And slowly, and you see that Manos has taken his time to build something over there. And when he's leaving, and he is leaving, it will continue because the foundations are there. The people know the program, the parents know the program, the students know the program. And it just sometimes takes time to get things done. So yeah, we want to thank Manos so much for sharing. It was such an easy podcast, and hopefully we meet again in the future online, or have him on again on the podcast, because he has probably tons of more to share with us.
Yeah, definitely. And one thing that I was kind of thinking about was how important those connections are. You had mentioned that Manos reached out to you. I think it was Manos, and you had said, he's talking to you and talking about his program. And then you're like, hey, I think we've met each other before, and like, it's such a small world once you get in this international teaching community. And so make those connections with the people at your current school, even if you're going to move on, or even if they're going to move on, like, just make those connections, because you never know when you're going to meet up with them again. Manos mentioned he had a good mate of his or a good buddy of his that, was the AD or was in the sporting role. And he said, wouldn't it be great if we were all together, all of these coaching minds together? And then he went there and took over the elementary school program and was able to do something pretty awesome. So yeah, definitely those connections are so important.
Yeah, definitely. Not only because you can learn from each other, but someone might move, and that opens up a spot for you to come in and take over a job. You never know how things work, right? It's such a small world. And if you just know each other, if you connect through LinkedIn or through courses or whatever it is, it's good to know people and to connect.
Definitely. Well, we just want to thank Manos, as well as all of our listeners and subscribers. If you haven't already, like and subscribe the video, share it with your friends and other ADs and coaches who you work with. And like we've said a couple times already, if you do have something you're proud of that you do just a little bit different, or something that you've accomplished and you want to share it with the world, we'd love to have you on. So find us on LinkedIn. Our information's down below on how you can contact us and other methods, but we'd love to hear from you as well. So thank you, everybody, and we'll catch you next time.
Bye-bye.